Welcome everybody to the Celebrity Guest Expert Sales Summit class. This is an awesome class and we are working on putting together our $97 packages, which Cynthia spoke about in the last one. And we have decided that we need time to ramp up our Facebook contacts so that we can get to 38 million. And we need time to automate our systems so that people can go onto our website, click on the $97 package, and download it automatically. The plan is that we are not going to do any hands-on with this $97 package, because if we got even 100 or even 50 people that responded to that $97 package, it would begin to overwhelm us very, very quickly. On the other hand, if they can do something virtually and automatically download it, then they have time to work through that package before we give them the next level package. And I think that that is going to work really well for all of us, because it will really ramp up our massive visibility, and that's what all of this is about. So we also had a training that talked about how to compel to sell. So in other words, compel, don't sell. And we talked about the importance of using what if to paint the dream. And I'd like to share a couple of things from our panel. One is in doing our client interviews. We put together the interviews. I think most of you remember that who've already been in the class. And we've discovered some interesting insights. And I'd like to call on Claire to share with us what she learned as a result of her client interviews. Would you mind sharing with us?
Oh, I'd love to, Charlene. It was a very interesting experience. When I contacted those who I thought were in my age category and wanted more vitality in life and were open to change, what I discovered is they really weren't. That they were satisfied with the way things were, and that it was very difficult for them to choose to change at this time.
And did they give you a reason for that?
Well, some of them said, you know, they've been doing all their life, and they were ready to just kind of retire and let things be the way they are. And if they were inspired, like one of them, she just knew she should be doing different with her diet. She knew she should be cooking her own food. She knew she should be walking, but she didn't. And she says, I'm just not doing it. And we discovered that maybe it was because she was unable to do things when she was alone. When she was with other people, then she would walk, then she would cook.
Okay. So does that mean that you changed your demographic?
Yes, I'm thinking it will be younger because, you know, I'm 74, so those of my friends who are that age are a little bit more stuck in their ways and aren't necessarily interested in getting unstuck. And then I'm a change agent, so that makes it difficult. So I'm thinking 45 to 65.
45 to 65. So that was very enlightening for you then, right?
Yes, because I really was looking at, you know, being more ageless and the fountain of youth idea that as we grow older that we would want to stay really youthful and young. And yes, they do, but they don't want to put the work in.
Interesting. So that, what Dot just shared with you is so important, because what that means is if you are talking to the incorrect demographic, you're never going to get any income as a result of it. And I'm going to use an example. If you were a person who sold, say, tchotchkes for convention, right? And you were standing in front of a room of 90 entrepreneurs. Well, entrepreneurs, unless they are running a really good-sized business, isn't going to use those tchotchkes, or maybe very, very rarely. And so then when this person speaks, she speaks to a group that can't work with her. And they're saying, oh, we love you, but we don't, what are we going to do? We don't have any use for what you have. And that's part of what Dot was experiencing without realizing it. And if we hadn't done these client interview questions, she never would have known. She would have kept marketing to the same demographic without realizing what and who were going to buy from her. So how can you make money that way? Does that anyone else have something they'd like to share about this? Okay. So that's the thought number. Oh, go ahead, Iris.
Oh, hi, Charlene.
Hi, welcome. Introduce yourself. I should have had Dot introduce yourself. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Introduce yourself, Iris.
I'm Empress Iris, and I am an empowerment and joy facilitator. I just love guiding women over 40 to step into their magnificence and really own who they are.
There you go. So share what you had to share, Iris.
Well, I discovered that through the questions that if I was going to serve entrepreneurs and professional women, my language would have to be very, very different. So I decided that I was going to stay with heart-centered entrepreneurs. I thought I would branch out into also professional women because I felt that they were caught in corporate culture and not able to have their full self-expression. But I discovered that that would dilute my message in a sense if I was trying to talk to both different types of people at the same time.
Very good observation, because that is an entirely different world. And entrepreneurs, there's professional women also, but they speak a different language than corporate women do. And they have different needs. So I think it's harder with corporate women to work with them simply because they go to a job, they work all day at that job, then they come home, they take care of their kids or do whatever they do, make dinner or walk the dog or whatever it is, and they don't speak the language of an entrepreneur. They don't always have the needs of an entrepreneur. So that was a really good observation. Really good observation, Iris. Does anyone else have something they'd like to share about the client interview questions? Okay. So, and I remember Cynthia shared with us before that she found out that a lot of her people wanted to go to Sedona. So that really helps when it comes to setting up the next event. So why wouldn't we do it for Sedona so that everybody could go where they wanted to go, right, Cynthia?
Yeah, like a retreat. Awesome.
Yeah. So Cynthia, would you introduce yourself quickly and then just share briefly that experience?
Sure. I'm Cynthia Staad, and I'm an international speaker mentor, best-selling author, and the creator of thespeakersummit.com. And I guide entrepreneurs and speakers to deepen their message into the message of their heart and soul, create compelling offers based on that message, and share them with the world through Facebook and other mechanisms.
Awesome. Awesome. So share your thoughts about Sedona.
Well, I'm an energy worker, and a lot of the work that I do, Deepening into Your Soul, is based on energy work that I learned in my about 15 trips to Sedona. I actually trained for energy work on top of vortexes. And I had never included that in my speeches, and I had never thought of using that as a way to connect with my people. But when I did the interviews, I found that 90% of my people either had been to Sedona or want to go to Sedona or been there and they want to go back. And so just mentioning that creates a connection. I think also sharing my experiences while I had there, the very powerful experiences, can connect them to me. And you're right, I'd love to do a retreat there. But even just talking about it, so I don't have to necessarily do a retreat right now, but just talking about it, incorporating it, bringing them closer to me with that love of Sedona and love of vortexes and energy, you know, because that's a lot of what I do, and I wasn't really talking about it.
So now it opened you up to talk more about it then.
Yeah, and it gives me more credibility as well.
And thank you, Cynthia. I appreciate that. And some of you know, because you were with me on Friday training, that, you know, these client interview questions are really only surface questions. All they are is to define your demographic, to define like what they don't like. It also gives you an opportunity to find out, do they like dogs more or do they like cats more? Depending on what they say is what you're going to throw into your speeches. Now, when we were together, we talked about the what, the why, and the how, and the what if. And I talked to you about compel, don't sell, because people do not like to be sold. So what if you never had to sell? That would be pretty awesome, wouldn't it? Mm-hmm. And we do that if we know how to paint the dream for our clients. And I know Lori's been experiencing the what if, and she's been trying it on. So Lori, would you like to share, introduce yourself, and share?
Sure. Thank you, Charlene. My name's Lori Lockyer. I'm a health coach, and I work with women to help them understand their beautiful changing bodies after the age of 40. I was talking with a gal out at the barn where I keep my horse, and she was telling me about a medical situation that they just had no answers for at all. And when I asked her if she was open to holistic ways of healing and really doing something different than going in for invasive surgery, which is what the doctor wanted to do, her eyes opened up. And I said, what if you could address this pain and inflammation with essential oils? And she said, awesome. I am all over it, yes.
So that was awesome, right? That was awesome. Now, may I coach you just a little bit?
Sure.
When you use the what if, you want to really slow down and be thoughtful about it. So you'd say, what if I had a solution to that problem? What if I could share with you a way that you could solve this problem easily? And I'm just using words. It doesn't, you can use any words you want. You just need to slow down, and so that people feel heard. We've talked about the importance of people feeling heard. Not many of us are heard. Most of us, the person across from you is waiting to make their next comment. And when that happens, then they really aren't listening to you. They don't hear what you have to say, and you don't feel heard either, right? Mm-hmm. So when we talk about things like this, first of all, people want to be loved, and then they want to be heard. And after that, they want to be supported in some way. So it's a three-step process. And if you can actually use the words that your client uses, when we go even deeper into the next level of questions for your clients, then you'll find out even more, because then there will only be 5 questions. And you'll ask them of anybody that you know everywhere you go, as long as they're in your demographic. That's what's really important. They need to be in your demographic, because if they're not in your demographic, none of it even matters, because it's never going to help you. So we need to make sure that it's in our demographic, and then you can just kind of wander around and ask a person a question. So here's the reason that I found out that so many entrepreneurs were having a hard time selling in their own backyard is because I said to them, what is it you're doing? Tell me about how you're doing with your business. That is a very thought-provoking question. And they would actually stop and say, well, I'm having a problem because of, or only one person, and it was a podiatrist that said, she said, oh, I'm doing really well. Now, a lot of us are trained to say we're doing really well, and we may not be, but she said she was doing really well. She had her own company. As I said, she's a podiatrist, and she said she was doing well. That was one person out of months and months of asking that question. Sad, right?
Yeah.
And everybody else complains about not making money. And they're tired. I was just on a call today, just now, I just hung up, and the woman said, I'm just so tired. I'm 58 and I'm so tired. Why is she so tired? Because she's not making any money. She's told me that 2 or 3 times. I'm not making any money. Not making money makes us tired. It makes us want to stay in bed. That's what I've heard a lot of too. So then I can include in my speech, don't you think it's time to get out of bed and compel to sell rather than really selling? Nobody wants to sell. Nobody wants to be sold. So what I'm trying to teach you is to compel to sell, and that's what the what if is all about. Who else has been using the what if? Debbie?
Well, actually, I was going to share something else about the what I'm hearing from clients. So can I back up into that?
Did you introduce yourself first?
Sure. I'm Debbie Hoffman. I'm a follow-up coach and speaker and creator of Power Up Your Follow-Up. I work really closely with entrepreneurs, small business owners, people, network marketing, sales professionals to create a step-by-step follow-up blueprint so that they can convert more contacts into valued clients and make more money for their business. And so what I'm finding when I talk to people through these interviews and also through discovery sessions that I do is the common theme that's coming up is that people have limiting beliefs around follow-up, about sales, being pushy. If they call more than once, they're going to be pushy. And so I'm going to start incorporating more of this language around limiting beliefs into my talk when I speak, because that's just the common theme with like almost everybody. So having them switch that to no, you're not being salesy or pushy, you're being professional, and you're going to stand out from the competition because most people aren't making that 5th call. Only 8% of people are making that 5th call. So that was really huge for me. And I hear it over and over again. And the other thing that I keep hearing is that if they don't make it in their business, they'd be devastated. Like that word comes up a lot. They'd feel like a failure. They'd be embarrassed. They'd have to go back to a job. So again, these are things I'm going to start incorporating even more into my talk going forward.
So just so that you could let our audience know, when you say call that 5th time, would you mind sharing about that?
Sure. So statistics show, research has shown that it takes on average 5 minimum contacts before the average person will say yes to doing business with you. And some experts actually say 8 to 12. Only 8% of entrepreneurs make that 5th call. So that means 92% of us are stopping short. And most people don't even make 1 call. Like I think 48% of people don't even make the 1st call. So when people learn these statistics, they hear them, it's like an eye-opener for them, because I remember someone said, oh, I'm making, actually I think it was Samaya, she says, I was stopping at 4, now I know to keep going to the 5th, right? That was you, I think. So anyway, that's what that's all about. So when people realize that most people aren't going that far and making those 5 contacts, that when they do, they're going to stand out from their competition and their prospect or contact is going to go, wow, they're really professional, they really mean business, they're very serious about what they're doing.
Thank you.
And it'll get their attention.
Yes, and I think it's very important in how they say what they say when they call.
Definitely.
And what they say when they call. Because a lot of people can be vastly turned off by someone who is pushy.
Right.
It's a matter of knowing how to do that follow-up, right?
Exactly, and that's what I train people to. It's about authentic communication, and it's not about the old male model of close, close, sell, sell, sell. It's really about serving people's needs, asking questions, getting curious, providing value, and building the relationships. So that's what I teach my clients.
Right. Perfect. Wonderful. Thank you for that, Debbie. That was awesome. So you found out, too, that you needed to make a change.
And interesting, I was mentioning in my talk about how I'm really passionate about helping entrepreneurs to have a sustainable business. They don't have to go back to a job. So I was already mentioning it, but I think I'm going to just say a little bit more about it. And I definitely wasn't using those words of feeling devastated or a failure or being embarrassed and all that about not succeeding in their business. So I'm going to have to start thinking about incorporating all that in.
And if I may mention something about that. You know, so many of the coaches are saying, oh, you have to go back and get a job. Well, we need cash flow to survive. And sometimes we have to do that on a part-time basis at least so that we can get through the month. We still have to pay our bills. And it's not a bad thing to have to go back to work. It's only temporary. And it's just so that you can get to the next level in your business. And it saddens me that people feel shame about that, because the number one step in arriving at financial freedom is to make sure that you have cash flow. And a lot of entrepreneurs do not have the cash flow. They have the dream, they have the mission, they have the message, but they do not have the cash flow. And part of it is because they hate to sell. They hate to sell, especially the healers. They are not sales type people. Am I right?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
So that's why I fully plan to teach you how to compel instead. It's much easier. And it's something you do every day. Cynthia, you wanted to raise your hand?
Yeah, I just wanted to add something about online and using the what ifs. Would that be okay?
Uh-huh.
Because some of the follow-ups, you know, making 5 phone calls to the same person, we're limited with that. So it's great if we've got a big package we're trying to sell, or we really know that they really are wanting to get deeper into our funnel. But the online, to really introduce yourself, like we're doing through the Sales Summit, is really awesome. And so I'm working on doing that 5 touches or more online with my people in my emailing system. And I'm going to be adding some subject lines that say, what if? And sell them the dream in their subject line so they actually open the emails, and then really compel them with a great offer that serves them now.
So we really only can do 5 words in that subject line. So what would your what if be in that subject line?
Well, I think, what if you could get paid in your sleep? But that's not 5 words.
No.
What if you could get paid while sleeping?
That's a good one. That's awesome. So
what if people bought from you automatically?
That's 6 words.
6
But
words.
you got to stay down to 5.
Okay, 5 words. I didn't know it was 5 words. Okay, great. I'll work on that.
It's always 5 words.
And
So
why 5 words?
4 or 5 words again. Who would think, right?
Well, I could just say get paid in your sleep
Yes.
instead of putting the what if. It's painting the what if without using those words.
Yes, you can do that too. You can do that too. Does anybody else have something they want to share? What are your thoughts, CJ? You've been kind of quiet over there. Why don't you introduce yourself and give us a little feedback? Whoa, look how beautiful your background is.
Thank you. I like it too.
Yes, it's gorgeous.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I'm Carolyn CJ Jones, and I'm an award-winning author and a forgiveness and joy mentor and a speaker. I work with women that are just mad and can't sleep at night. That's the biggest symptom I see. And they want to change their life. So we work together, and identify blocks and the things that are stopping them, apply a little forgiveness, and women are changing their lives.
Wonderful. So what are your thoughts about what we've been discussing?
Well, I really think that the what if is a very powerful way to open a sentence and present an idea. I like Cynthia's idea of doing the what if in the subject line of an email.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a great idea.
Mm-hmm. And you're very proficient with Facebook. How would you use Facebook with that?
Well, I think I would present a problem. Are you blah, blah, blah? And then go to the what if. Well, are you blah, blah, blah? And then I can relate because I've been there. And then go into the what if.
Good, thank you. That was great.
You're
So
welcome.
how many of you out there have been listening to how people present themselves and to how they speak? Have you been listening? Because that was your clinic. Who's been listening? Dot? Okay. Dot, introduce yourself this time, okay?
Thank you. I will do that. Well, I call myself a change agent, and I support women in transition to manifest change now, not later. Sometimes I find women are stuck in the heartache of divorce, career changes, or even death of a loved one with feelings of overwhelm, fear, and emptiness. And I say, what if you could get unstuck, move forward with ease, and weave a new story of peace and harmony?
Awesome.
So to relate to your question, the one woman that I was interviewing, she was extremely impressed with how receptive I was for her to express herself. I didn't jump in at times when I could have had a solution, and instead allowed her to just speak, what she was saying, and she really felt heard. And her comment to me was, well, first off, I know her for a long time, and her comment was, wow, you really changed. And so it was her feeling more at ease, and she didn't feel wrong for what she was doing.
Awesome. That's awesome, Dot. I love that. So did that make you feel good about that also?
Well, I think the big thing is I'm a recovering caregiver or taker, and it gave me validation for holding back, not immediately wanting to fix somebody, but holding back and really hearing them.
Makes a huge difference in how we interact with people and in whether they want to work with us or not. And so many people just come to me and go, Charlene, I think you really need this. And my question always is, how do you know I need that? How do you know? How do you know me at all? I mean, think of all the emails that you get just in your box that says you need this or you need that or you want to try this or you want to try that, and there's no benefit for why I'm going to try it. Nobody gives me any benefit for why I'm going to do this. I haven't seen hardly any of it. So I think that's why we delete our subject lines, is because it doesn't answer our question. The people that are sending it don't hardly know us, right? Does anybody else have something they'd like to share about this?
Hi, I'll share.
Okay, Samaya, introduce yourself.
I'm Samaya O'Grady, Soul Alchemist, and I work with leaders and speakers who have a divine message. It's a calling that they can't say no to. It comes from deep within. And I have a program based on 30 years of experience that supports the essential 3 pillars of divine protection, divine strength and power, and divine abundance, so that they can connect to their souls for unshakable confidence.
Awesome. So what were you going to share, Samaya?
Well, I'm finding in my interviews I've done about 10 so far. Very much a lot of common ground in that almost everyone I've interviewed has a spiritual tradition that they've kind of created themselves. It's not a traditional religion. And so that was interesting and valuable for me to know because my program's very spiritual. And I'm also finding that they place a high value on going within and staying in tune with themselves. And sometimes they need help doing that, but that they place a high value on that. And that was good because that's what I do. So, and then oddly enough, I found that many of my people want to go to Hawaii or to the Fiji Islands or some tropical place rather than Sedona, which surprised me because I prefer Sedona. And the last thing I learned that I thought was important is that many of them are visionaries. And when I asked the question of, you know, what change do you want to see happen in the world, they had big visions, big important issues. So I can see really bringing all of that into my talks.
Beautiful, Samaya. That was really beautiful. I love that. And I think we've had a lot of really, really good information that all of you have shared, and I love that you're trying out the what if and listening to what people say and how they're running into you or whatever. And, you know, events are the biggest opportunity to really look at that. So I want you to remember to really keep a watch out on what it is that you are hearing and, you know, how people are approaching you. Really watch that. So I'm going to ask, we've come to the end of our program. That happens so fast. But does anybody else have anything they'd like to add? Great job. And Debbie, go ahead.
I just have a question. When we were talking about the emails and the subject line, you had mentioned 5 words. Can you share a little bit more about that? Why and, you know, what? Just a little bit more about that.
Well, statistics show that we really only have 5 words in that subject line. Over and above that, they don't really see it. That's why. So you know how it kind of runs off to the side if you have more than 5 words. So you want to make sure that those 5 words are very impactful and they are specific to that individual, because otherwise they're going to delete it, just like we do, because they don't have time to read everything. So, you know, the 5 words, and Constant Contact says that too. That's where I actually learned that, was that you really only have 5 words in that subject line.
Thanks.
Anyone else have a question? Okay, well, we're going to wrap that up for today, and I'm glad you joined us for the Celebrity Guest Expert Sales Summit. And we learned a lot of good things, and every day we're learning more and using the techniques. I'm really excited. And I just want to remind you that this is how we maximize our wealth now in business, finance, family, and lifestyle. And until next time, your host, Charlene Reeves, and the panel say goodbye.
Bye.
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 Bye-bye.